Oh, hey there. So today, well, yet another episode of John Works Too Much. Today we're going to take this shower out, and it is beautiful with the gold hardware, but we're going to make it more beautiful. We're going to cut this cabinet back to here so we can make a bigger shower, because we're magical like that. We're going to put in new granite countertops, and then over here, we're going to cut this wall back, and open this up so that you get easier access to the toilet. It's been about 12 minutes because we're waiting on some people in the other room, but we did take out the shower, as you can tell, and this wall. Took out this countertop. Now, one of my helpers was asking me, what is this? Okay, now this is an unusual way to do it, and it's really not the right way to do it, but where your air conditioner is, it makes a lot of condensation. Okay, so then this condensation comes down and comes into a drain pipe and drains, right? So it actually is quite a bit of water that comes down. Now this isn't great because it goes lower first and then comes back up, so there's pretty much always gonna be water in this area, so that's not amazing. But if that one clogs, then you've got another pipe that looks similar to this that comes out of your soffit somewhere, out of the ceiling outside, and if that's dripping, that means that this one's clogged and you need to fix that. So that's a good bit of information. Now, I'd like to tell you about a guy I heard about. It's in Southeast Asia somewhere, and this guy was 74 years old, and he had been a slave his entire life. Also, his father had been a slave his entire life. Also, his father had been a slave his entire life. And also, his father had been a slave his entire life over a $4 debt that this guy incurred. $4. 4 full generations, and this guy's in his 70s. His entire life on a debt from his great-grandfather, whatever it is. That's a lot of problems. So that kind of thing is heartbreaking. And there's slavery going on today. There's a lot of different kinds of slavery. Obviously there's human trafficking, and we just think that that's god-awful. And child sex trafficking, things like that, and that's god-awful. There's also, slavery that's legal in other countries. But in modern day America, what is a big form of slavery? Mike, do you know?
Help.
Huh?
Help.
The prison system, the American prison system. Because why is that? Especially in Texas, Mike, you know stuff about this.
Money. Money.
Well, hold on now. You're telling me, how do you make money off of a prisoner when it costs $30,000 a year to house them?
Make your prison fully self-sufficient. You pay no wages.
Yeah. Wait, no wages? Not even like 11 cents an hour, nothing?
Nothing.
Okay, and
And then you start an industry.
So, and then you compete against businesses that actually have to pay their employees.
Right.
And then does that give you incentive to not let your people out on parole?
Yes.
Yeah. So you were telling me about a friend of yours, and I'm not going to mention any names, but I just think that this is heartbreaking. He spent how many years in prison so far?
22 years.
22 years of his life, and he's how old?
44.
So half of his life and most of his adult life has been spent in prison. And now, because of a petty drug offense, which was a parole violation, now he's going to spend 40 more years of his life, which puts him at 84. That was a plea bargain because it could have been a life sentence. So 40 years was a plea bargain on meth charges. Now this guy also, I just want to tell you what kind of a person he is. Yeah.
Which meth charges that would normally be state jail felony, punishable by up to 5 years, but because of criminal history, they have enhancement, which now makes it worth 40.
40 years is a long time. A lot of you guys watching this aren't even 40 years old. All right, so this is the kind of guy that he is. The last time that he was about to go to jail, then what happened? The pedophile guys.
He found out about a sex ring and
A child trafficking ring.
yeah, and
they showed him videos.
yeah. He said it made him sick. He said he still has nightmares.
Right. And they said, do you want to be a part of this? And he said, in his head, he said, I'm going to go to prison for the rest of my life anyway. I'm taking you guys out because you're scum of the earth.
Right, I'll kill all you. Yeah.
Right. And so he's all like, well, yeah, I want to be a part of it, but let me meet all your leaders. I want to see what ell's going on here.
Right.
And he's all, let's do this thing. And then his lawyer calls up and says, hey, we can plea you out of 12 years. And he's like, on second thought, and he just turned him in and they got put away. But that's the kind of guy that we're putting away in prison. A guy that's going to, he's like, I'm already going to lose, and so I'm going to make sure that bad people out on the streets. And I think that that's rotten, and I know him. Like, he worked on a job with us last year.
Yeah, good guy.
He's a
Works
good guy,
hard.
right? And I just think that that's god awful. So if you have anything to do with the prison system, stop. There's no justice in America, not in the justice system. All right. Yep, just over here yawning and doing nothing, stretching out the line or something. Oh, yeah, no, we cut this opening. That way you can get to the toilet easier. Because sometimes nature calls and you're like, I need to answer this now. And if you've got any kind of disability, you'd be like, no, I really need to answer this now. So over here, check it, we're taking the shower apart, right? And we take some of the sheetrock off and we're like, why is there a vent here? Why is there a dryer vent here? So we start speculating on what the look could possibly be. And then we decide, well, maybe there was a remodel and there was something, we don't know, it doesn't make sense. Then we get up to here, still doesn't make sense. We get up to here, somebody's just messing with us. I think, you know how I mess with people and leave things like skeletons and notes and stuff like that? I think somebody's just like, haha, they're gonna be so confused about this. I'm confused. Anyway, so we're gonna bring the shower up to here and out to here, which will make it quite a bit bigger. But there's this outlet here and we're gonna take it out, and then Mike said, we gotta leave the outlet in the shower, because like how handy could it be if you're in the shower and you're like, man, I wish I could have an outlet here so I could plug in like a hair dryer or a toaster or whatever. Like let's say you're in the shower, you wanna make some toast and blow dry your hair, boom, no problem, we got you covered. And right on the other side of that is the Grim Reaper. You can't see him now, but he's there. He's waiting for you to die. Anyway, Mike, anything? I think that pretty much covers it. That's a dumb thing, and so we're not going to do that because we are dumb, but we're not that dumb. All right, look at this. Oh man, let me show you what we did. If you remember this morning, this vanity came out longer, out to about here, and then we busted off the top of that. We cut this hole over here. Take a look. We haven't trimmed it out yet, but it's going to look way better. A lot more access to the toilet. No more saloon doors. And then this was a deep shower, but it was narrow and deep, and it was that culture marble stuff, which smells funky when you take it out. And so we got that out, we moved the drain, we put in a new faucet, and then this has a diverter, so it can divert to the shower or it can divert to a bar that will then have a handheld sprayer on it. So that should be pretty neat how that looks. Tomorrow we're gonna buy a tile and get that all over. We're gonna put a couple soap dishes in here, put in a shower door, and I think it should be pretty amazing. So what are we gonna talk about, Mike? Perfect. The 6 stages of masculinity. Now, this is a book, and as you guys know, I cannot read, even though I'm an author. But our pastor talked about it, and I was like, this is very interesting. And every guy I've talked to about this has been like, this is very interesting. So I'm gonna tell you real quick, and then you can look it up your own self. All right, so every guy has 6 stages that they go through for the most part, okay? So it starts off with the beloved son. And by this, when a boy is usually young, but at any age, he realizes, I'm loved. I'm loved by my parents, I'm loved by God, by my family, by friends, by my community. I'm loved and I feel secure in that. And if he does not get that, for the rest of his life, he will be looking for that. You probably know guys that are like trying to prove themselves all the time and trying to be like, please love me, please love me, please love me. Let me prove how much I'm worth it. And sometimes it can be kind of irritating. And that probably snowballs into worse and worse behavior. Anyway, next is the cowboy stage. Okay, the cowboy stage, you're like, I'm not a cowboy, it doesn't matter. During this stage, you become a man. Whatever it is that you become a man. Every culture has something different. You go kill a lion, you break a horse, you join the military, you build a house in my case. Whatever it is, and there is a rite of passage for you and for everybody else that says, I'm no longer a child, I'm no longer a little boy, I'm now a man. I recognize it and everybody else recognizes it, and if you don't get that, you'll be looking for that for the rest of your life. And we all know guys that never really became a man. You're like, so you're still playing video games at your mom's house. Cool. Anyway, the next stage, let me think. You got the beloved son, then you've got the cowboy phase, then you become a warrior. Okay, now a warrior is different than a worrier, but a warrior goes out and fights battles every day. Mike, you fight battles every day?
Every day.
Every day. We go out, we fight battles, right? And then at the end of the day, we're like, yeah, we beat some enemies, whatever your enemy may be, right? In our case today, it was this shower. But whatever your battle is, you fight it with bravery and with courage, and you go out and you do your job, and you don't complain about it, you suck it up, and you're like, you know, that's what it is to be a man. Next stage is the lover. By the way, if you never become a warrior, you will probably be missing something inside of you. Like, we need that. We need to work. We need to have a purpose in life. We need to be respected. and we need to be good at something. All of us do. Okay, so next is the lover. When you become a lover, right, then that means you have a wife and hopefully a family and children or whatever. And then you realize, like, all this money I make is not just for me, it's for them. In fact, most of it is for them. In fact, almost all of it is for them. And I'm going to give everything that I have, night and day, to make sure that they are taken care of, because I put them before myself. And to become a lover, I think, is a very, very important thing for any person, but especially for a man, because we're not really wired that way until something changes. And at which point we go, I love them so much that I will do anything for them. And I think that that's a beautiful thing. Next is a king stage, right? So somewhere in your 40s, 50s, something like that, you usually become a king. Now, let me just say that this doesn't necessarily mean you're like the king of England. This means that you are the king of whatever your kingdom may be. Your kingdom may be you and one other person. Your kingdom may be your house. It may be that you're the manager at your job, or whatever in the world it is. But if you haven't done these other stages right, you'll be a horrible king. I'm sorry, but you will be a horrible king. Everybody will hate working with you. They will hate working for you. They will hate being in your kingdom, in your house, whatever. You will be trouble. Get these other things right before you become a king. I'm telling you, if you're already a king, get them right now, because even though everybody's smiling, like, oh yeah, you're great, inside you're like, I freaking hate that guy. Don't be that guy, right? If you've done well at these other things, you will be a good king. People will come to you and be like, I love working with you. I love being in your kingdom. I love hanging out with you. I love being in your house, whatever, because you get it, right? Because you've paid the dues and now you're here. The last part of a guy's life is the sage, right? And you think, my kingdom is shrinking. Maybe I've retired. Maybe I'm not working all the time. Maybe downsized, and people don't, I don't feel as needed or as important. But the truth is, your kingdom is actually growing, because now kings and warriors and lovers and all these people are coming to you, these younger men, and they're coming to you for advice, at which point you get to steer the direction of those kingdoms. You get to steer the direction of those warriors and those lovers and those cowboys and those children, and you get to become somebody that is respected and that they look at and they say, man, I don't know if I'd have made it if I didn't talk to that guy. Like, he really supported me. And that is a beautiful thing. So with gray hair comes wisdom, and own that, right? Like, I don't dye my hair because I'm like, yeah, I'm freaking old. Get over it, right? Anyway, I think that that's kind of just an interesting thing. Look at the book if you want to. I never have, but I think that that's very important. And I don't know what it is for girls, because look, I'm not a girl. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I've checked, I'm not. All right, so tomorrow we're gonna come in and we're gonna lay tile on this, and I think it's gonna be a beautiful thing. Love you guys, bye. So you're probably wondering, how does a hippie polygamist count his wives? 1 Mrs. Hippie, 2 Mrs. Hippie, 3 Mrs. Hippie, and so on, depending on how many wives he has. All right, so if you remember, this shower ended here, and it was underwhelming. And then the cabinet came out, but now, look, we did all the tile today. So this has a shower faucet, then it has a diverter that will go from this, which will be a spray nozzle, or up to this. And then we got 3 soap dishes in here. We got accent tile, a low curb, because more for handicap accessibility. And then if you remember over here, we had to take some tile out. So then we built this wall, we sheetrocked it, and we did 1 coat of tape and bed, which is great. We got the tile patched here where the wall was, and then we put this up. We still need to put trim up there. But pretty exciting stuff, huh? This is for Carlos Miranda, because I love you. All right, so we had a busy day. We got everything grouted. We put in a grab bar, which is nice. We put in the shower door, which is nice. We got in the shower. So this shower has, let me get this stuff out of the way. As you can tell, there's the main faucet, and that'll come up to this, but then there's a diverter, and it'll divert between this or that, and then you can take this off and spray it. And it's got soap dishes in there, and we kept it low, which is nice. Also, we cut this hole. If you remember, this was just right here, and we made this bigger so you have more access to the toilet for handicap accessibility, which is super nice. We put in a new light, we put in a new fan, wired that, put these 2 lights together, put in that light right there, tape bed textured and everything here, built that wall, and I think put in a couple other fans and toilets and things like that. So I've got a friend, and he is still in school, and he said when he does not know the answer, to a question, he just puts Jesus, because Jesus is the answer. And his mom, he's in homeschool, and his mom's Christian too, so she's like, I'll allow it. So I don't know if that's like a good thing for later on in life. Like, I don't know, I guess engineering, I don't know, Jesus. They're like, that's not going to work. That's not going to work in real life. But I think for what he's doing, I think that's super cute. So use that if you're in school, kids. Jesus is the answer. Also, if you're wondering what's not the answer, do you know what the answer is not? The answer is not the government. Whatever your question is, if you're like, is the government the answer? No, they just messed stuff up. Now, let me talk to you about, how much time do you have? Let me talk to you about personal accountability, okay, and ownership. So when somebody is a renter in a house or a car or whatever it is that you're renting, you're like, don't be mental. Why are you being gentle? It's a rental, right? You don't care because it's not your thing. But once you buy something, then you're like, I want to take care of that because that's mine and I paid a lot of money for that. And that's called pride of ownership. So what happens is when you buy a house, you take better care of it. When you buy a car, you take better care of it. And when you think my community is my community and I'm personally responsible and all of us work together and we're all responsible for this, but we love it and we care, then you take ownership of that. But when you're like, somebody else has to deal with that problem and that somebody else just is like, well, it's somebody else's job, and there you go, oh, there ought to be a law against that, or there ought to be a law for that, or whatever in the world, then all of a sudden complacency sets in, bad service, nobody really cares how much money is being spent. You're like, who cares, just spend more money. But that's a horrible way to do things, right? So my personal opinion, which I strongly push, is less and less and less government. Build our roads. None of us are going to build our roads by ourselves. Good job. We want you to build the roads. Protect our borders. We're not going to do that by ourselves. We can't just run out there like, hey man. But as far as micromanaging our lives, please don't. We are Americans and we want to live our own life. So leave us alone. Government's not the answer. I'm going to make a shirt that says government's not the answer. If you want to buy one, let me know. All right, bye. Please send positive vibes or whatever in the world you believe in. That probably won't work anyway, unless it's prayers. I believe in prayers. Please send that to me because I'm having surgery tomorrow. I'm going to have my sense of humor removed, so please.
Short surgery.
Yeah, just it's real short. I mean, it's not much sense of humor anyway. All right, so maybe you guys are thinking to yourself, what do I do if my toilet doesn't work? Like your water's off, or I don't know, the end of the world has come or whatever, and your toilet's just filling up. Like it's like this, and you're just rising up like, how do I get this toilet to flush if my water's not working? Never fear. All right, let's demonstrate. Well, let's say that we've got some, should we put the cat in there or the toilet paper?
Let's go with TP.
Okay. Oh, I thought you said the cat. Okay, so we put that in there, right? And you're like, how do I make that flush?
Look at that. We can't get it down.
I can't because the water's
Should have
off.
done correct TP.
But if you just get a bucket of water, watch this. Let's see if it goes down.
Go.
Ready? And look at that.
Even the cat's impressed.
That is impressive. And you notice it didn't fill back up because that's how life works. So there's a P-trap underneath that. And a P-trap, for those of you that don't know, means this. You got the toilet, and it's got water like this, and it comes down and up and then back down. And so it levels across at a certain level, and you're just forcing that to go down, and then it'll do
So whatever's left over, the cat can drink.
Yeah, right, the cat loves it. Welcome to yet another episode of John Works Too Much. Today we're going to learn how to do a circuit, because we're right here at Breaker Box. It's going to be a real small circuit, one outlet. All right, so we went through here, and there's a grommet thing already. We cut a hole with our sheetrock saw. It's pretty much, we just took this, traced it with that, and then boom. Right, it's not really rocket surgery. Then, what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to hook this up, put it in a new breaker, and then we're gonna hook this up and put in an outlet. So first we're gonna do the outlet part of this, okay? So, boom. Sure, we got anything you wanna talk about while we're doing this?
John, when are you getting your vaccine?
My vaccine? Never! Yeah, why would I get something? You know what I really hope? I hope that everybody wears jackets this year so I don't get cold.
Right.
I went to Africa, right? Then I had to take malaria medicine because, you know, you're in Africa. Everybody around me had malaria, but I wasn't worried about it. You know why? Because I was taking the medicine and the medicine worked. I didn't have to be like, for my medicine to work, everybody else has got to take their medicine too. That's not how science works. It's dumb. Okay, so... so stupid. You don't believe in science? What are you, some kind of blah blah? I'm like, what are you, some kind of idiot? This isn't real science. Okay, look. So this just has some tabs, and when you screw those things in, the tabs come up and they pinch the sheetrock and then it doesn't come over. All right, now, we want to make sure the breaker's off. You know how I know the breaker's off? Because it's not freaking hooked up. Pretty simple. Hold on, I'm gonna get another place. He's about as sharp as a bowling ball. Okay, so, here we go, ready? Boom. All right, you cut all this garbage off, okay? That wasn't too hard. Now, we're gonna strip it back some, okay? Same thing over here. You got a black, white, and a ground. Let me see where the outlet is right here. Black, white, and a ground, okay? Your ground goes to your green. The silver screws are white, so it can go backstabbing in, which this isn't because it's 12 gauge wire, or on either one of these screws, and that's all your whites, and then your blacks go where the brass screws are, or in the backstabbers, but once again, it's not gonna work there because it's 12 gauge wire, not 14 gauge wire. So, you just turn one of these suckers around like this, and then boom, tighten it up. It matters if connections are tight. Why is that?
I don't know.
Because otherwise you get sparks and arcs and fires and things like that. You don't want that, you're better than that. Okay. So, silver screws, white wires. White is your neutral, black is your hot. Okay?
Okay.
Obviously we're doing this out in the county where it doesn't matter. Go government. Whatever the question is, Trevor, more government is the answer. I made a shirt that said that the other day, and people are like, but it's not. I'm like, no kidding. Really?
I hear you love the government, John.
I hate it. Even though I'm running for Senate. It's the dumbest thing ever. All right. Sounds like I need a new bit in there, but in the interest of getting stuff done, we're not going to do that right now. Okay. So, there's the outlet part of this. You could also run this to many other outlets and switches, but we're not in this case. This is isolated. Okay, now, what can I touch and not touch in here? Good questions. Right here, this is a hot wire coming in. This is a hot wire coming in from your power lines, okay? The power lines come in from down low, which means they're underground, not overhead, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, there is. It's coming from, we got it coming off the,
They're coming from overhead?
yeah.
Well, either way, they're coming in from the bottom of the meter, so congratulations. So you got these coming in. There's a hot power, there's a hot power. You see there's a lug nut that holds it, then it connects to this metal bar right here that then goes back and forth like jack-o'-lantern teeth all the way down. 110 over here, another 110 over here, you put them together, that bridges two different things, that becomes 220, okay? It's not really rocket surgery. This is a ground bar right here. See this big thick wire? That goes down into a ground rod that goes down to the ground 10 feet. This is your neutral bar. See how all your white wires are on your neutral bar? Here's a bit of fun fact. This is always connected to that because your ground and neutral are basically the same thing. Anyway, so what are we gonna do? We're gonna take this ground wire and then we're gonna come in here and then we're gonna put it in to the ground bar, okay? Don't touch that. Don't touch these screws and don't touch the end of those black wires. You will regret it. A lot of people are shocked to find out I'm not a very good electrician.
Why is that?
Because it's shocking.
Silence.
I am just guessing. I watched a YouTube channel, a YouTube video on the way over here, and I'm pretty sure I'm doing it wrong. We're about to find out. What do you think?
I have no clue.
So see that? It's tight. That's good. And it's out of the way. It doesn't look all like a sloppy mess. Like I'm some kind of a monkey. Okay, then we want to get over here. And once again, I'm not touching the parts that matter. We trim some of this garbage back so we can actually do our work. Stick that sucker in there. There's room right there for it. Okay, so yellow wire like that, that's 12 gauge. Okay, so 12 gauge is for 20 amp breaker. White wire is 14 gauge, orange wire is 10 gauge, and then the bigger wires are usually black. So ground bar, neutral bar, ground wire, neutral wire is your white one. Now, how do we put the breaker on? Well, I'm glad you asked. So, we got a breaker right here, okay? Make sure it's in the opposition. That's on, that's off. There's a screw, there's a place for it to go. Gotta loosen it first, because, you know, science. Real science, not freaking COVID science. Old crap.
Maybe doesn't know the code.
So see, it's opening up that thing down there. I don't know if you can see that. Now, we're gonna
B-E-R.
put that in there and tighten it up. Is it tight? Yes. Good. All right. Now, this like clips in on that side. This dumb wire's in the way. And straddles it. And boom, we turn it on. Let's plug something in. You got your warm drive, Saul? All right. Let's see if I did it right. Beautiful. Didn't even trip or anything. Beautiful. And that's how you do a breaker. Kind of circuit and whatever. So hope you learned something.
That's fantastic.
Anyone who says there is no life after death has obviously never died. I was high as a kite by the time I got there. I dropped 5 hits of acid that night. I made it through the first 2 bands before I started peaking. Then it happened. The pivotal point of my life had arrived. I fell back in my chair, and I couldn't move for a long time. I started to panic, but still, I couldn't move. After what seemed like an eternity, I sat up and looked back at my seat, only to see myself still in it. I freaked out. I quickly put my hands on my eyes to hide from the horror of it all. But when I did, my left eye jumped out of my head and began to twitch around in my hand. I shoved my eye back in my skull and ran my fingers through my hair towards the back of my head. When I did, my ears twisted inside my head and disappeared. They made this awful sucking noise that was horrifying. I felt a big flap in the back of my head that I reached my hand into. I was more than a little scared at this point. I looked around, and I wasn't at a concert anymore. I didn't know where I was, but it felt like hell to me. But that couldn't be. I didn't even believe in hell. I was only 16 years old. I couldn't die yet. I looked for my friends, but they were all gone. In their place were demons haunting me. They were flying around and taunting me. The things I saw were undescribable. My body started falling apart. Limbs were falling off and the pain was torturous. I realized that hell wasn't just a myth or a fable. It was a real place, and I was there. A Wretch Like Me by John Tennell. Available on Amazon, Audible, and Kindle.